All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast. This is episode 52. I am your host, Supreme King, and joined, as always, by my co-host. His name is...
It's your guy, Omazis.
Yo, so real quick, man, let's just address this. Was it too many game shows in a week, or was it too many game shows in the week? Like,
it was absolutely too many game shows in the week.
Like last time or the last week when I was going through like half of this, I was saying like this should be spaced out over a month. Like this second half really could have been spaced out over a month. Like if you didn't have E3 in person, there really wasn't too much of an excuse not to do it. Like it would have been way better. That would be my only complaint. I still liked a lot of stuff. I'm pretty much going to cover everything we didn't cover from the last week. Obviously, one of the biggest topics was the Xbox show. I apologize for not doing an actual solo vid in the middle of the week. I really was kind of swamped. But we're going to start off with the Future of Play Direct, followed by Future Games Summer Showcase, and then the Wholesome Direct, and then we're going to get to the Xbox show. There's a couple other ones, like a lot of other ones.
So onto your point, though, with some of these other ones, I feel like there are some shows where, like, because there are so many in the week, things are getting heavily overshadowed, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just like, am I going to remember things, and we're going to talk about them, like, from the Xbox Showcase, or remember things specifically from, like, the Wholesome Direct and everything? And I feel like I would have had a lot more attention for the Wholesome Direct if it wasn't within the same week as so many other shows. So they didn't really get the spotlight. And some of the shows, like, repeated like games, and I feel like it was like I just watched this game on the stream, whereas like if it was in a separate week and everything, so I'm reminded of the game, I feel like that would have been better.
I mean, one of the games I do appreciate is obviously Remnant 2. I think I've seen Remnant 2 more than anything across all the shows, but it's only so many times you can see it. I think for them and E3, I guess whoever was in control of that from the get-go, it's like you got to look at it from the viewpoint of the consumer. Like I wrote down a lot and I liked a lot, but it's only so much you can consume in a short amount of time. Like it's only so much you can buy in that short amount of time. It's like even if you created a Vegas, like a Las Vegas for gamers, and you took somebody to Las Vegas for gamers and they will think they're in heaven or something because there's just games everywhere. Like you can only buy so much at a time.
Yeah, and I do think there are some of the like more indie style games that like would impress me, I guess, a lot more, or make an impression on me a lot more if I wasn't feeling like I was checklisting through the shows just to get through them all.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, for example, I can't think of any specific game, but it's like certain times the storyline and the like effects and everything of like a side scroller looks great, but when I'm checklisting through the show and it's the 6th side scroller, and I'm like, I don't care, let's just keep going. Like, and I'm trying to power it through. Or that could have probably been the one where the story is what really like got my attention. So I don't know, they should just stretch them out a little bit more.
Yeah. I think the first big show for last week was Jeff Keighley's show, the Summer Showcase. And then for the following week, it wasn't even the following week, it was like following 3-4 days. It was the Xbox show, and then everything else in between and afterwards sort of just got overshadowed to an extent, you know. And I think it would have been way more beneficial if they spaced it out like 2 shows a week, and this lasted 2 months. This could have literally lasted 2 months. You could have called it Summer of Gaming, you know, and it just would have been like a lot of other stuff. But I guess,
especially since it's not like majority of the games are like there was a chunk that's still coming out this year, but most of them are next year. So they definitely could have, Summer of Gaming, 2 to 3 shows per week that they really get to focus on. That would have been great.
It's kind of funny because in the middle of all of this, there really wasn't a Nintendo showcase at all. But I guess, you know, everybody has, whoever wanted it has Tears of the Kingdom right now. So I don't think they're complaining, but there was a noticeable lack of Nintendo amongst just everything, because it got to the point we had a full VR showcase and no Nintendo. So
there's only one game that was missing from the entire show cases that I have not seen.
Okay.
Another Crab's Treasure. Like that was shown last year.
I actually think that was shown somewhere because I wrote it down.
I didn't see it at all.
That was shown. I think I'll get to it eventually because I do remember writing it down.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for it and I did not see it.
Yeah, I saw it. I remember seeing it. So we'll get to it at some point. But to start off, I guess we could talk about the future of Play Direct. I thought it had a good start to the show. I think the first game that I remember writing down, I think it was called Yasuki, a Lost Descendant. And it was just
Yasuke.
Okay, I don't know. I can't pronounce it, but yeah, it was like a black guy anime slasher game. It was very colorful. How did you feel about it? You wrote that down?
That is the one. Like there was a lot of stuff there that I thought looked interesting, and I didn't write down things that were previously shown, like anything repeated. I was trying to focus on only new stuff that I didn't already have on my list, and that was the one game that I wrote down.
Yeah, I thought it looked really good. I wrote that down, and I was pretty much interested in that. And then the very next thing I wrote down was Rune Fencer, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. Rune Fencer. I think it's like a action side scroller game, and you have like some powers. I wrote that down as well. Did you write down something in between or anything else?
No, the only one for future of play that I had was Yusuke, the Lost Descendant. Again, certain games were like I noticed throughout the shows. I don't know if it was specifically this one, but certain games were like, "Hey, we showed this at a different show too," so I didn't rewrite those down.
Yeah, the next thing though, I was a little disappointed in this. The next thing that they showed that I did write down was the Playdate showing. And like I know practically nobody covers Playdate. I was just trying to incorporate it here and there, at least for the podcast, just to show that I am somewhat interested and would like to give them some respect. But it was very, very quick. That's what I remember. I think I wrote down it was too quick. I think it was like 2 or 3 games, and they just flashed right through it, and it was just done. And I didn't really know what the games were. I mean, Playdate fans are not really worried about it. They got plenty of Playdate games, but I just thought, like, as a showing on a bigger showcase to get more out there for you, that should have probably had a solid 5 minutes,
I agree. Especially this, in theory, also be showing off tech and everything like that. So.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that, but the next one that I did write down was called Wild Mender, and I wrote down this was a Breath of the Wild clone, and it has a demo that's on the way. That was like the last thing. Afterwards, I pretty much was like, okay, the show started off good, then it fell off. That's what I wrote. And I think that was all I really pulled from this show. And I kind of just gave it a 5 out of 10. It was like right in the middle for me.
With Yusuke or Yasuke, like really helping it, because I don't know, that was the strongest really start.
Yeah, it was strong, and then it just kind of just dwindled. It dwindled like really fast. I will say, like, for anybody who would like to know, I was watching the Future Play Direct, the Future Game Show Summer Showcase, and Wholesome Direct at the same time on 3 different screens. And so it didn't take me that long. Like, as much as I complained, it was really easy to actually get through almost everything because of how I do it, which is very effective. But what usually happens is, like, I'll pause like 2 out of the 3 if something is good on the other one, and then I just let them all roll. But yeah, going from that, I will say
I ended up watching, so I can say on the same thing, I was watching 2 at a time. I think I did the Future of Play and the PC one, and I think that's where because I was watching 2 at a time, I didn't pause, so I think that's probably why I would have missed another Crab's Treasure. And the blink if you miss it play date
Mm-hmm.
because something else on one of the other screens caught my attention.
Yeah, well, I didn't watch anything live, so I was always able to like stop and write down names and dates, anything important, because I wanted to make sure I did that. And I have like 3 or 4 pages full of notes for practically everything. But yeah, as a show, I would give this a 5 out of 10. I don't think it was like, it wasn't terrible. It just, a lot of it really wasn't for me. It started off really good and it just kind of slowed down. Like, what would you give this if you was to rate it?
That's a very valid rating. I agree with you. 5 out of 10. With that, like the without Yusuke, it would have been much lower. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 5 out of 10 is good.
Okay. The next show is Future Games Summer Showcase. It's funny because these names are kind of like very easy to mix up. But what makes this one stand out is that the host here was the man who plays Spider-Man, and also I believe her name is Lori Bailey. She played Abby in Last of Us, but she also plays a lot of people too.
I mean, you said the dude who plays Spider-Man. She plays Mary Jane.
Oh, she played Mary Jane? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they kept making Spider-Man jokes with each other.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Spider-Man and Mary Jane.
Cause she introduced herself saying, you might recognize me from like Abby. And in my head I was like, but they had a face model for Abby, so maybe they did it all in pieces. Cause I was just like, but wasn't that other girl Abby? It was a whole nother girl, but I guess they took her face for the other girl and used her voice. And I'm like, all right. Because they kind of did that for Spider-Man too, if I'm not mistaken, because they had the other guy's face and then they changed it to this guy and tried to make him real younger. And didn't nobody like it at first, but I think everybody's like okay with it now.
No, they're not.
Okay.
We're not. We can't do anything about it. So whatever, because this is the one they're gonna stick with. But everyone wanted the other one.
Okay. But yeah, I think they had much better chemistry in comparison to some of the other showcases. Some of them that we're going to get to, like Guerrilla, for example. But at the same time, they were much more experienced, like voice actors and stuff. You know.
Plus, Bailey, I think, has hosted the shows before as well.
Okay.
So, like she was the experienced one, and Yuri was just kind of helping out.
It's weird because once they got to the point where, like in some of these other shows, where they just start pulling YouTubers, it seemed like they were just way too far out of their element. And that they were just like not given the same kind of energy as they would on their regular shows or whatever, like the YouTubers.
Don't bash them too much though, because hopefully we could be those YouTubers eventually.
Hey, I would give the effort. I would do it. I would not be scared. I would not be scared. Maybe it's because you gotta like if it's live and then you still gotta read stuff. Because I was very much watching a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
And everybody had to look somewhere, and it was kind of weird because some stuff it was just like, couldn't you just say it from the heart? That's what I was saying in my head, like just speak from the heart.
But probably didn't want them to. They probably did give them a script. But if you're not used to like reading the script while looking at a crowd, which I'm not, but I'm used to public speaking and I'm used to reading scripts. I'm just not used to doing this at the same time. I can figure something out. I got y'all. Like I
kind of feel like some of that could still be pre-recorded. Like they could literally pre-record the entire thing, let everybody blooper some stuff.
Oh yeah,
and just run the full feed at the end of the day, because they still like they try to do it almost wrestling style, and I don't think that they need to do that for these shows, especially when like some of them turn out the way they turn out anyway. So, but this particular show, I remember thinking like I wrote down why. Because it started off with a musical selection, and I was like, I thought we learned from Jeff Keighley.
Okay. But as bad as that was, I liked the song. Like, I was also thinking, I was like, why is this here? And I was like, I didn't understand what was happening, but I liked the song. Like, I was like, this is good. I still don't know why it's here, though. Like, could I have done without it? Yes. But did I also look up that song after to save so I could get it later? Yes.
Okay. Well, at least you enjoyed it, because I still have more than one show going, so I kind of just tuned that one out. But like right after that, though, The first thing I wrote down for this show was Lords of the Fallen. Obviously, something I've already featured on my channel before and has been shown before. So they just showed, some updates with some more details involving the lore and the story. And I believe they're saying this is coming out October 13th, which is going to be on a Friday. So it's a Friday the 13th.
That's the Spider-Man window. That's a week before Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that's going to be coming out around that time. Like, I don't think anybody put emphasis on that, but we might end up having like another February moment later on in this year. February as in like when Elden Ring came out, and there was like a billion games that came out with Elden Ring, and Elden Ring kind of just blew past everything. I think Sifu,
Forspoken.
Dying Light
right?
2. Yeah, not Forspoken though. Forspoken was this year. I mean, when Elden Ring came out, I think it was like 2022 February. I think that's when.
Oh, Horizon? Was that the one that came out?
Yeah, Horizon came out with it.
Horizon.
I think in October we're gonna have the same kind of situation.
Forspoken was this year?
I think so, January, right?
In my head, it was
January.
last year, man. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, it was January. It seems old news now, right? It was January. Yeah. So, but I think in either September or October, I think both months, a lot of the games here shown, big and small, are all set to come out, September and October. And we'll see that because I wrote down a lot of dates for stuff that I liked, but Lords of the Fallen, they show more detail. I mean, another Souls game. I did put that at some points the hosts were being a little too cringy for me as we were going along and everything. They were being kind of cringy, but they were more tolerable though because they still had a lot more chemistry. It was almost like Michael Cole in a way where he knows how to work this, but he's still cringy. But the next game I put down was called The Last Faith, which was like a cool action slasher. It's supposed to have a beta demo. How you feel about that one?
That was also the second one that I put down right after Lords of the Fallen. Like, it looked real good. I remember it from a previous show. I don't remember what show, but from a previous show where that was the game that caught my attention. So I'm happy to see more of it. This is what it looks good.
I think the next one I put down, which I just thought was very cool, kind of unique, is called Steel Seed. This was like a stealth action platformer. You play as somebody named Zoe, and you also have like an AI that helps you. I thought it was cool. I thought it looked pretty interesting. I'm really big on platformers, and that was the next one I put down. I don't know if you put that down or what did you put down?
I didn't. So my next one that I had was actually a lot later in the show. Go Fight Fantastic, which I have written down before. That one was a little more cartoony, which is my style of game. It was like a cartoony. I think it was like 4 people, all fighting. It was supposed to be kind of like cartoon-ish style. Where it's like, here's these 4 and they fight evil. Like, go and that one just seemed very interesting to me. That's something that I was going to definitely look into.
So the next one I put down, I have a star by this one because it was something that I've already been following. This was Daymare 1994 Sandcastle. If anybody is familiar, this is kind of like the knockoff Resident Evil 2 remake kind of game. The story was this developer or development team was making a knockoff, and instead of like Capcom, ceasing and desisting them, Nintendo, they actually brought them in and showed them how to polish and do everything, and then sent them on their way. And they made their first Daymare, ended up being a success because Resident Evil fans, they latched onto it as an alternative while they wait for their next Resident Evil. It was successful, and now this is their second game. They didn't cease and desist them. They actually helped them, and then there was more product out there for the people, Nintendo. But so Daymare Sandcastles, I already had this I have this wish list on Amazon, I believe, is $39.99 at launch. I don't know if I'm gonna play it at launch. I'm probably gonna run through Resident Evil 4 remake first because I haven't touched it, and then I'll get to this and some other games. You know, it's just endless amount. But yeah, and then I think I put at some point they started throwing trailers too fast. Yeah, did you notice that in this show? Like they kind of did that. Like it was just like really short trailers of a bunch of games, and they were just throwing it. Maybe this was where the crab game showed up, because I know I saw it and I think I wrote it down. I don't know if it was here or somewhere else, but I just know there was a lot of little games like that didn't get shine, even though they were still showing other games that did. Where it was just
that
like,
might have been why I missed it.
They just throw it fast, and it's just like, it reminds me of like when they do WrestleMania and they have those battle royals in the beginning, and somebody mentioned that it's like that's an excuse to get everybody on the show. And I think they're trying to get too many games on the shows, and it's like, yo, these are at the end of the day, these are YouTube videos to the big brand audience. It's a YouTube video. You can mesh some of these together. I mesh them together myself. That's what one of my videos was, right? Or a couple of them were. So some of these people can mesh some of this stuff together. And like, if some of them were going to show up on live like recordings where they're just sitting like in a Zoom meeting style anyway, you could do some of that like later on, and then y'all could put together a nice package and just throw it out there and be like, bam, you know. Because it got advertised the same way to the bulk of us. It was just like, these are the shows that's coming up, and we already complained about this in the beginning, but it's just
another game that I had written down. But it falls under this where it's like I don't really know what it's about. Was the Bookwalker, Thief of Tales.
Okay.
Like it was like a person, but like their head was like a book. I don't know, and they were like being chased down, and someone threw a knife at them, and then. Like, I didn't really know what was happening. It was a cinematic trailer. I don't know what the game looks like at all. But I remember like the cinematic trailer caught my attention. But I was like, I wish I could have seen something of what the game looks like. Because in these type of shows, right? Like, cinematic trailer, and then it could be like 2D platformer. And like, even though the trailer like was like 3D hack and slash looking. So it's like, you never know what you're going to get. So I wish they would like show it a little. But that was one that caught my attention.
Yeah, I think I put at some point also, this is starting to get boring really fast, just as a show. So I wrote that down as the notes. So yeah, but the next one that I wrote down that I liked was called The Precinct, which looks like a top-down GTA game, like the original games, but you play as a cop. And I thought it looked very, very good as a unique game, which I'm still going to show, like, you know, my top 20 games that I'm going to like wish list and everything and buy. And I think that that's probably going to make it in the game that we were talking about in the future of Play Direct probably is going to make it as well. Not everything. So even for myself, it's like some of the stuff I'm going to have to I can't show every trailer again that I liked. So, but the most unique ones I'll save for that video. I think that's going to come out probably first week of July. But yeah, so The Precinct was the next one. And then the last one that I had just for this show was called The Spirit of the Samurai. And I think that was the ending of the show. I said it was a good ending to the show. That's what I had. What did you have right before that, or did you have that?
Nope. The Bookwalker was the last for me.
Okay. Yeah, so The Spirit of the Samurai, I think, was the very last actual game. And then that's it for this particular show. I kind of have to give this one the same kind of rating as the other one. It's like right in the middle. 5 out of 10 for me, really.
Okay. For me, it was a little bit more. 6 out of 10.
You want to say 6?
Yeah, for me, a little better than that.
I think it's at the same time the host was starting to get a little too cringy, as much as I would like him, and then it's just started to get boring after a while. I think that's what I put. Yeah. But the very next one, Wholesome Direct. I can pretty much say for the entire show, I put down cute, but mostly did nothing for me. that's pretty much what I put for it. But I will give a shout out to I want to shout out Cozy K. I think she changed her name on the thing to Cozy Games. She also goes by Kennedy. Her name is Kennedy. She was one of the hosts on there. That was somebody that I follow. I saw her when I remember I was telling you there's like a whole group of like cozy gamers and stuff that's just coming out of nowhere talking cozy games. She was one of them, but she was one of the smallest. And this was like 2 years ago when she first started, and all of a sudden she kind of blew past all of them. She's got like 100K subs, and now she's on this show as a host, which is a big deal for her. So yeah, shout out to her. As a show, 3 out of 10. The 3 being for her. Literally, I didn't get nothing else. I can't get you nothing else.
The Wholesome Direct, I got nothing. Like I went through it and it was like none of these are catching my attention. Like it's not my style of game though. So like a lot of Wholesome games are very much like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, like that type of stuff. And I mean it's just not for me. They seemed interested in their stuff, and everybody spoke very calmly. They were like, "Go grab your tea and like let's get ready for this cozy game."
That's a thing for them. I don't understand because like there's no, it's one girl who did that as a gimmick to her channel, right? And I don't even know if I want to like mention her name because everybody started copying her, including this one. I have to admit. Even though she kind of blew past them and stuff, and she found her way after the fact. What happened was there was this one girl came out the gate, and then next thing you know, she was somehow getting like 200K views, and she had like almost no subscribers, and then she started to gain the subscribers afterwards. But her whole gimmick was, I'm gonna drink this like Starbucks coffee with this lo-fi music going on, and she was talking real faint. And we just talk about the cozy games, and she was getting the traction. Next thing you know, everybody copied her. That's what I was telling you about it. I was like, all the cozy girls copied her, and then that became a thing. Yeah.
Well, I know before that, whenever there was talks of like, let's get like cozy, let's relax. It's always tea. Tea is what like that's your relaxing drink. The cozy games have tea, and the other games have G Fuel. And then if you're an extreme gamer, you go Mountain Dew. Like that's where we're at. It's tea, G Fuel, Mountain Dew. Nobody drinks water.
I drink water. I drink the water and I drink some Gatorade. I just bought some Gatorade and put it in the fridge. But
nothing. I don't feel fair rating the show because it was just I didn't care about any of it, so I'm not gonna give it a number. I guess your 3 out of 10 is good, but like
I gave it a 3 out of 10. It just as a show, stuff was cute. Yeah, it was a bunch of cute stuff, but it's not really my fan base. Really, it was one of the shows next to the other shows. I will say though, now we can get to probably what's considered the biggest showcase. And that was the Xbox Showcase, and I could probably incorporate the extended show a little bit with this, but the extended or just the Xbox Showcase, the main show itself, this was a big, I would say it was a W overall for Xbox. They really needed it. There was a lot here showing compared to last year. What were you gonna say?
I will say though is some people are gonna need for me to keep that same energy. So one game, which I'll bring it up when we talk about things that impressed us, but I'll just say it now as well. So of course the Persona stuff, right? Yeah. Persona 3 and Persona 5 Tactica. When it was like, on PC. Atlas confirmed after the show at some point that it's also coming to PlayStation as well. Right?
There was some crybabying going on. I saw it. I saw it.
People kept. I saw some people like, "Yo, is this coming to PlayStation as well, or do I need to get a PC?" And they're like, "It's coming to PlayStation as well." So I haven't looked at all the other games, but that means there might be some other ones that are also multi-platform, and that wasn't an issue for us for the PlayStation Showcase, but that was an issue for some people, and I feel like they need to keep that same energy. If say the Xbox One was the best, if there's games that are also multi-platformed, like they should complain about it too, because just keep that same energy. That's all I'm saying. For me, it wasn't an issue for the PlayStation one, and it wasn't an issue here. This was a great show. It was better than the PlayStation show. It was a fantastic show, but I need some people to keep that same energy if they're gonna.
Well, I think with Atlas and Persona specifically, um, within Persona 5 Royal and Strikers, like just as a series, Persona became a big franchise overnight to a lot of people. And I think what was happening was there was just an embargo where Xbox had like the ability to promote this as if it was their game. Persona 3, the remaster or remake or whatever it is.
Reloaded.
Yeah, Reloaded. And then like the Tactics game along with
Tactica.
that. Or Persona 5 Tactica. Yeah, and so they were able to promote it as if it was almost an exclusive, similar to how PlayStation tries to promote everything, including Call of Duty, right?
Uh-huh.
And in this particular case, it was like, well, Persona is one of those games that's like, it has to be multiplayer at the very least, right? It used to be only on PlayStation. And I guess, you know, a certain fan base got a little scared for a second. I was like, I think the embargo wasn't even that long. It was only for like 48 hours or something, but Push Square was like like already like the website Push Square was damage controlling over that, and then a lot of other people was, and it was just pretty silly.
But no, as a PlayStation player, I wasn't like, you know, scared. Like I assumed it would be coming to that, and two, I was like, oh, if it doesn't have a PC. That's why I watched the Xbox Game Show. I was like, I could still play a lot of it, if not all of it, on PC.
I did write down Xbox must have gave Atlas the bag. I did write that down at some point.
Yeah, because they showed off both separate. Like they didn't even package together. They're just like, here's more Persona. But
the way it made it look to me was like everything Persona that they showed is going to be coming day one to Game Pass.
Yes.
And which is a big deal, especially for the Persona 3 Reloaded. But it kind of tells me that they have some sort of like business deal going on, that when you eventually see Persona 6, that is probably also going to be day one in Game Pass as well, which probably is a huge deal, you know.
Hey man, it's great for the gamer, so I'm for it.
Yeah.
Even as not an Xbox person, it's great for the gamer. I'm here for it. But back from the start of the show, I can say the first game they showed off got my Star Wars Outlaws. Like, that already looked great. Like, from the start of the show. Yeah. They're just like, let's open up with something big. Here's Star Wars. Like, come on. Of course, that was just like right away.
Yeah, Outlaws got a lot of showing, I want to say, like, on other shows as well. I think, actually, I think the extended showcase may have showed that too. Somebody showed a really long showing of it. Which I'll get to because I have everything written down. I can see it. But I think the very beginning was cool for me because they showed Fable. Fable with this Titan-sized black man and the girl. I think that was a very strong start simply because Fable is one of their exclusives. And
that's how it started.
It's an exclusive that's not from Bethesda. You know what I mean? That's actually done by the same development team as the Forza series.
So the internet has been a little wild about Fable. I don't know if you've seen the discourse, but
I haven't seen it. But
I think it looked good. I forgot that was how the show started. Yeah, no, that looked good. However, some corners of the internet are complaining about the way the protagonist looks.
I think I may have seen a snippet of that. I may have seen a snippet of that. I think overall this show is just as good as their show from 2021. Definitely a bigger, better show than 2022 show. But yeah, Fable was a stronger start for them. Obviously, this is going to be day one on Game Pass. There's a lot here that was day one on Game Pass that looked very, very good. That has me extra excited to be a part of it. The very next game I have here is which is also right before Star Wars. I think this was more of a CGI trailer, but it caught my attention. This was South of Midnight. This is the black girl that was haunting the Titans or whatever. You remember that?
Yep. That one looked good too. I remember writing Star Wars first and then rewinding to some stuff.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't writing them down right away, so I had South of Midnight After, like,
Okay.
it written. But yeah, that one also looked good.
I don't know why. It's just the black guy with the guitar was for some reason reminding me of Snoop Dogg, but like he was there, and then he's playing it. He's kind of distracting the girl, and then the Titan comes up behind her. She's like asking where are they at. Another, I guess, brand new Xbox concept. I don't know how far in development they are with that, but they showed this, and it was interesting enough for me. I put a little heart next to this, but it was like right afterwards. Sarah Bond came on the stage looking fine as ever. Shout out to Sarah Bond. And then right after that, they had this interesting title here that I think was shown again somewhere else. I think it was in the extended showcase, but it was called 33 Immortals, which is like
next one I have too.
Indie slasher. So apparently you could have up to 33 people as co-op at the same time. Which seems very chaotic, but I think it was still a very cool showing. How did you feel about this 33 Immortals?
That was the next game that I had written down. Like, I think it's going to be just this nice, fun, just chaotic hack and slash looking game. I'm excited for that one.
Okay. And then I guess right after that, that's when they showed Payday 3, which is also going to be day one in Game Pass. I believe Payday 2 last week or the week before was free on Epic Games.
Sure
if anybody was paying attention. So hopefully you claim that when it was free. This is the third installment, so you get to play through that and see if you like it before getting this. And then here's the big showing. Right after that was the Persona 3 Reloaded, which was also showing as day one in Game Pass. Yeah, and so I guess I still think unless it's just really drastically different, I will probably still play both. But maybe I could shelve the original Persona 3 when I get to it and just play this if it's really just that much better. I mean,
that's my
I don't
plan.
know.
However, you know how like Persona 5 and then there's Persona 5 Royal?
Mm-hmm.
Story? Apparently the Persona 3 that's like the older one that's uploaded is the one with the more story, and then Persona 3 Reloaded is a remaster of the first version where it would have been like Persona 5 versus Persona 5 Royal.
Okay.
So some people were already saying it looks like it's going to be missing some content.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I'm going to play the newer one only because I've been noticing Persona, like I played Persona 5 Royal, but all of the Royal stuff is, I guess, non-canon because they're not part of Persona 5 Strikers, and it doesn't look like it's going to be part of Persona 5 Tactica. So I don't know. It feels like, well, then I should play the original one because that's the one that's canon, right? That's the one we like. Because one of their newer characters that's introduced in Royal, I really liked, but then they're not in anything else. It's almost like they never existed. And it's like, well, I spent all that time bonding with that character just for them to not actually be real.
Yeah. I mean, we'll just have to see. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see if Persona 6 is going to be considered better than Persona 5. And I'm almost
bring it with the story.
Yeah, I'm almost certain it will be another day one in Game Pass. I think they have a big relationship with Xbox, I think. Because there's a lot of stuff here that's day one. The next big game that I have, this is technically a big showing for Xbox. It was Avowed, listed for 2024. Avowed, I think it has a big fan base from their previous two titles, the studio, but this is something that, like, I think there were people who were thinking this was going to be better than Starfield. I remember hearing a lot of people say that. It's almost like,
really?
It's almost like a Elder Scrolls 6 kind of thing, but its own thing. Like, it has its own fan base kind of thing is what I'm trying to say. But I remember there was a group of people who was saying this was not shown last year because they didn't want it to overshadow Starfield. I remember hearing reports that.
Okay.
Which is almost politics within here, but that type of game and that type of gameplay is very addicting. There's a lot of people who just love the medieval stuff and just grind it and be in there forever. But that's basically what this is. And so, how did you like this?
Avowed was on my list. It looks really good. Me personally, I don't think it overtook Starfield. But
okay, yeah, Starfield was a way really better good showing this year, but it probably like Starfield looked like it might have been more like on that level last year in a way. Like if they were showing it, because they had a lot more to show this year, obviously, because it's going to come out. The next thing that I do have though, Flight Simulator is what I put down. I thought at first this was just DLC. This is technically a whole nother flight simulator, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's gonna come out in 2024. Flight Simulator, I remember, was that one game where you had to have like the best PC or it just would not play. It was either that or I remember I think Cyberpunk was another one, but Cyberpunk was more broken where Flight Simulator was more polished, but it was just like you had to have the best. You could not have just a regular PC to play this particular
really
one.
Fast side story. Really fast. So this turns out if you play enough Flight Simulator, it does kind of teach you how to fly a plane. Of course, you'll still need actual plane practice, but like you can really learn some stuff from that. Well, this one guy put like all the hours into Flight Simulator, what usually people do for like training for flying, and kept getting upset when they would go out that his wife wouldn't introduce him as a pilot. Like they're like, "Oh, what does your husband do?" And she'll mention something. I forgot what else he was doing, but it was something that he just wasn't proud of. And he would get mad. It was like, "Why don't you say I'm a pilot? I am a pilot." And she's like, "You've never flown a real plane." And he's like, "Yes, I have." And it was through all of the Flight Simulator stuff. So that was a whole big deal. And he was wondering if he was a jerk. It's the Am I the A-hole Reddit thread where he was wondering if he was the bad guy because he got mad at his wife for not introducing him as a pilot.
Silly. I will say, so if I could jump over to the Xbox showcase that was the extended showcase, they showed more details on Avowed. I have to go back to that because I actually looked at it now. So on there, they showed more details and more lore, and they were showing off your abilities and showing how it's a very, very like big world and stuff that you're going to be in. They also mentioned that you can just jump into Avowed. You don't have to play the 2 previous games from that studio. And and then I guess back to the main show. So after Flight Simulator, they showed more content for Sea of Thieves, and this was called Legend of Monkey Island.
So I didn't write it down, but I thought that was a really cool crossover.
Yeah.
Because you had the whole Legend of Monkey Island series, and then the separate Sea of Thieves series. So I thought that was a really cool mashup where they went to the island and found the main character for Legend of Monkey Island. I think that's like real for people who are like pirate fans and like war or like ship fans. I'm sure they've played. So I think that's like a really cool crossover for those fans.
They also did Pirates of the Caribbean, like I think either a year before last or last year. I don't know if you remember.
Next up will be Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That has to be the next one.
Yeah. So the Monkey Island content is going to be released on July 20th. So look forward to that if you're a fan of Sea of Thieves. It apparently has a very big fan base. The unfortunate thing for, I guess, fans of Banjo-Kazooie, this is from the same studio, Rare. And Rare is like, we are completely moved past that. And apparently they're making more money from Sea of Thieves than they ever made on Banjo, according to them. So I would like for them to just like take the franchise and give it to another studio and just at least come out with a Banjo-Kazooie that does not have a stupid like exam at the very end of the game. But Sea of Thieves is going strong. The next one, big deal for me. Very big deal for me. I was really enjoying this. This was Hellblade 2. They actually gave a release window of 2024 on this. I put WoW in there because I still think this is like one of their better graphical showings. They also show some behind the scenes content for this on the extended show on how they do some of the mocap. This was not like the same, like they did more gameplay of it, like I think in a previous showing on a different show, like when the girl was running from the Titan and she had the spear. But it looks very good just with the trailer itself. It's still all in engine. Very big game for Xbox because this was a showing where people say they don't have enough over the shoulder content or third person over the shoulder games. This is clearly a third person over the shoulder game, and they can call it their own. And I thought it was a very good showing. Did you have this one now?
I did not.
Okay.
Mainly because I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But it still looks good. It looked good.
Yeah. I wrote down almost everything that they showed. I thought I liked almost everything that they showed.
So the next game that I had written, the Gami Path of the Goddess, which was shown at a few showcases.
Yeah, I have that too. They mentioned that one's going to be day one in Game Pass as well. Path of the Goddess. Very good game. Very good game. They had a couple things right before it. I think the one game that I put was not safe for work is what I put. That was the Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. That was the dude who was on the beach and he was just basically butt naked. And they were like doing like clever ways of like hiding his actual private parts and stuff.
He didn't know he was naked.
Yeah, it was just but the Like a Dragon series is big. I think they did do more details and stuff on that at the RGG Summit. But yeah, they just kind of just showed that trailer for the game. The game itself is still good. The game is good. It's just the trailer was just like So if anybody wants to know, Like a Dragon is previously known as Yakuza series. It was always Like a Dragon in Japan, so they just went with that name overall going forward here as well. And then I guess they got more content for Fallout 76. I put that before I guess the Atlantic City. I thought it looked pretty cool. Fallout 76 had a very, very rough start. But once they got that up and going, they're just releasing content for it. And that's cool. So after Path of the Goddess, I put down Forza Motorsport. This was the game I actually kept saying, I think this is going to be shadow dropped as like it's going to be out on Game Pass that same day. So I got that wrong. But this is another one of those games that's coming out in that window. So this is going to come out on October 10th, 2023. So a lot of games coming out in October. This is one of them here, Forza Motorsport. Forza Motorsport, or Forza in general, you can't really go wrong with it. I think they got that formula down packed where they can't lose with Forza at this point. But it'll be interesting to see how Fable turns out because that's the same team that's working on this, which is completely different game, completely different, 1000% different, not even the same at all. So if they knock Forza out of or knock Fable out of the park, that's going to be a very, very strong team when you think of it, because nothing is related. Nothing's related at all. Afterwards, I just put down the Elder Scrolls Online. They have more content for this. Shadow over Morrowind, which is coming out actually in a couple days. So June 20th is when that's supposed to release. Not day one on Game Pass. You gotta have that. You gotta have that. That online, that Elder Scrolls Online. They making just as much money on that, and they're not changing that. So.
Yep. So with that, for people who want to jump in, you can buy the DLC separate, or you can pay subscription fee to always get the DLCs. If you haven't played it, I suggest going through the base of ESO, and then as you like it, just buy the next pack. Keep going. It keeps going for the game. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. They showed more content that they're going to release, actually story missions for Overwatch 2, I guess. That's going to be on August 10th. That was the next thing that they showed. So I put that down. And then I don't know if you had that. That's more old. But they also showed the next big showing, kinda, which was Persona 5 Tactica, which is also day one on Game Pass. I guess this is going to come out on November 17th, 2023. Okay. How did you feel about this showing?
I am excited for Persona 5 Tactica. That's going to be a day one buy for me.
So did you play Strikers? Did you go through Strikers?
No, I still have to finish through Strikers. Okay. I've only played Royal, so I have to go back through Strikers, and then I have Persona 4 downloaded and ready to go. Golden, for when I start that. Okay. That one looks good. And my bad, did you mention Overwatch?
Yeah. That's what
my bad. So in my head I was like, you said something else. I don't know why, but I did write that down, and I feel like Overwatch, because they mentioned the story stuff. So in my head I'm like, I feel like Overwatch 2 should have actually launched now instead of when it did. Because the whole thing was like, when it launched originally, they were like, a story mode's coming soon. They introduced a couple of people, and then was like, we're not doing the story, sorry. Like, and now they decided, we're going to do the story, because people were like, yo, the whole reason why I bought into the second one was because of you said there would be more, and now it's just the same thing. So I do feel like they should have held off and launched Overwatch 2 now. I feel like now it's a more game.
They gotta come out with games in pieces, man. It's like, you get this little bit right now, you get the little bit later. We'll charge you more.
I don't know. You talk about Overwatch, I heard something else. But Persona 5 Tactica looks great.
I think after this they kind of confused me because they threw a trailer out for Starfield, and I actually thought initially that they were just gonna go straight into it, and that was just Starfield, and the show was over. Oh, the other part of the show was over.
Yeah, but and then there was stuff after it.
Yeah, I didn't know why they didn't have to do that, but they were just like, oh yeah, don't worry, Starfield's coming. But they threw his trailer out there. They reiterated the date, so September 6th, 2023. And then afterwards, they jumped into a game that I saw that was called, I guess, Just Sant Climb. And that's supposed to be coming out fall 2023 is what they said. That's also day one in Game Pass. I liked what I saw with that. And then the next one, which is more of a horror game. This is called Steel Wakes the Deep. Okay. That's early 2024 content. This was also going to be something that's day one in Game Pass. Smaller game, or smaller name, I should say. I don't want to say smaller game, but smaller name at least. But yeah, that was something that I mentioned that was more small. I put a star next to this one. This was like a bigger deal for me, but it's also still small. Dungeons of Hinterberg, I think is what it's called. Yep. Day one in Game Pass. Did you write that down? Did you like that?
I did. I also had a game before that though.
Okay. My bad.
I think it was there before it. Metaphor Fantasio.
Okay.
So what interests me, like, it looked the anime style, and I was like, okay, but it's made from Atlas, like, same from the Persona 5 people. So I wonder if it's going to be part of the whole universe that they have for that, or if it's standard.
Yeah, because I think that might have been the point where I wrote down they gave Atlas the bag. I think that was when I wrote that down, because it was just like everything they had that they wanted to release to the public was day one on Game Pass as well, which we didn't previously see with Atlas. I do remember Phil Spencer wanting to have a much stronger Japanese showing within Xbox, because typically like those developers skip Xbox directly, like always skip Xbox, but I guess he's trying to bring some of me in.
That one I wrote down just because, like, knowing that it was by Atlas, I was like, okay, I'll look into that too. But yeah, then the Dungeons of Hinterberg.
Yeah, this was kind of a jaw dropper moment for me, a little bit, because I wasn't expecting to see Keanu come on the screen. But
Yeah.
I guess it was just Cyberpunk's DLC, Phantom Liberty. We could probably talk about that for a split second because there's some controversy around it. But like,
really?
he came on the screen. He was also on the extended showcase. He did a full interview at the beginning of the extended showcase, and they had like a lot more Cyberpunk content there. The content itself looks cool, along with Idris Elba, and people are excited to play that. I think the problem was apparently Cyberpunk, or not Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red is charging $30 for this DLC. I think that's the issue that people have. And they feel like this is the one franchise that should not charge that much, I guess.
Okay. Do they feel like charging is okay, or do they still feel like it should be free because of the initial method?
I don't know if they think it should be free. I mean, there probably is a lot of people who probably think that way. But I do know they think it shouldn't be that much. We don't really know how beefy it is, but I do remember them announcing DLC that I remember them saying it was going to be free at some point. They didn't say what DLC it was, but I remember them saying there was supposed to be free DLC. This was back when the game was so broke it didn't make no sense though. And they were just trying to have good PR. But I think what probably got them back on their feet was the TV show. Because once that got like a good report, that's when they all of a sudden had some, they chest stuck out again. And I remember them initially announcing that they were going to have DLC and it was going to be paid DLC. Uh-huh. And that was after the show. Like if that show wasn't as good and they didn't get a second resurgence, the DLC probably wouldn't have been paid. It might have been free because of how bad the game's reputation was. But it's $30 apparently. So this is supposed to be released on September 26, 2023. So it's still within that window. And Keanu Reeves, they got Keanu Reeves there. I thought he was like, he seemed a little off to me. His voice was a little different. I don't know if you caught it. Like he didn't sound like John Wick or Matrix or nothing. Like he sounded different a little bit to me. But
it sounded like, they was like, hey, can you come here like real quick? Like he sounded last minute. Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, but he still, at least he did make the game look good, or at least make it look good, like at least sell it really good, because he's still Keanu. He still has that aura, despite Matrix Resurrections not doing so good. He is untouched. He's still doing good. So I didn't play the base game yet, but I do own it. I would imagine that I would want to play City Skylines as well, or not City Skyline. I'm looking at City Sky, Phantom Liberty as well, if I really enjoy the game. But I was one of those people where I was just like, if it's broke, then let me just wait.
Yeah, and it's working now. I started it.
Okay.
I actually did start it. It is working now, at least so far. Pretty good, pretty involved, and pretty good. I personally wish it was third person instead of first. I feel like they really put in the effort of like you designing how you look. I think it would be better in third, but.
Yeah. Now the next thing, like I just mentioned, City Skylines. Now this ain't really a game that I like. I put it down because I thought it was a big deal. City Skylines 2, another game coming out in that October window, October 24th, 2023. I thought it was a big deal that they got this for day one in Game Pass, because even though it's not a game for me, there seems to be a very big, huge group of people who like this type of game, along with the farming simulators and even the Sims and stuff, where they just love to build that society and just like keep expanding on it and everything. And so that being day one in Game Pass probably is a bigger deal than I would really think, because it's not a game for me, but it is for a lot of people. How do you feel about City Skylines? Is this a game for you?
No, I'm not into city builders or like management, like Sims.
Yeah.
games. But hey, look, I mean, it's a new one for the fans. What's up?
Okay, the next one I have is I think it was called Metaphor Re
Oh, that's where they showed
Fantasio.
it. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they showed it before Dungeons of Hinterberg. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, they had
Metaphor
that.
Refantasio with the Atlas game.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what you was mentioning before. Yeah, yeah. So they have that here. It's supposed to come out in 2024.
Uh huh.
Um, yeah, they showed it at the City Skylines. That's when I have it. Yeah, yeah. So I guess we already mentioned that, and then a game called Towerborn, which
Yes.
is supposed to come out in 2024. This is like a co-op kind of game. I thought this was pretty interesting. They showed more details on it on the extended show. It looks very, very cool. It does have the ability where you and your co-op person can perform like co-op special moves or whatever, which they show more details on that in the extended show. I just thought it was really cool looking. This I think caught a lot of people's attention because it was co-op and how it looked.
Yeah.
How you feel about it?
It made my list. Like it looks good.
Okay.
Definitely my style. Like partly my style of game, as well as especially for RPG stuff. So it looks good.
Yeah, it's very good. Next one I put down was called Clockwork Revolution.
Same.
Another one
That
that
was the
they
one I
have
put
that
down.
yeah, another one they have here that they say is day one on Game Pass that I liked. I really enjoyed this. This was pretty cool. I think that was the last one that I have for the main show. Was there
I
anything else
want
that
to
you
see
have from the
more.
main one? Yeah.
I want to see more of Clockwork Revolution. Like
Okay.
I like the cinematic trailer. It reminds me of like a Fallout slash like Outer World sort of thing.
Hmm.
And it might have been just the style of the font, but like it reminds me. It strikes me as one of those like worlds where everything's gonna be like really weird. Um, and I'm interested to see that. So I want to see more. Waiting for it.
Okay. And then they threw out an interesting curveball here. Apparently, they have a redesign for the Xbox Series S that is coming out
Yep.
September 1st. This is going to be the 1 terabyte model of the Series S for an additional $50. So it's going to be $349.99, and it's going to be all black. You get a full terabyte. I actually think that's a pretty big deal in a way, because technically this is now considered the like, I can't say the first next gen system because technically the Series X is 1 terabyte, but the PS5 was not 1 terabyte. I remember being upset about that. Like, why is this some random 800 megabyte like system or something? I'm like, why wasn't it not a full terabyte? Because
Yeah.
storage is a
Well,
big
does it
deal.
say? I'm pretty sure this will be the same thing where it's 1 terabyte, but then like 200 of the gigs are used for like system requirements, so it's actually 800 gigs. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's
but
gonna be the same.
it would be something like that. But that's the thing, because with the PlayStation 5, it was like that, and then you end up having like just around 600. And I was just kind
Yeah.
of like annoyed by that because, as you know, I was having big issues with like Destiny 2 and stuff, like where it's just like you
Uh,
have to really pick what is on here.
well,
And
that's why
then,
some people were upset with NBA 2K23 being the free game because it was
yeah,
150 gigs, and they're just like, I don't got room for that. Like,
yeah. And then, like, they pretty much left it up to you to buy your SSD, and you had to wait for them to put some of them out there because they were like all overheating at one point.
mhm.
But then the
Well, I
SSDs are
mean,
like 200 plus each. It's like, I don't want to do that. So,
see, but I'm interested to see if the Series S is going to be the same way, where it's a 1 terabyte, but with all of the system requirements, if it drops down to 700
I
gigs,
think it'll be
actually.
the same as what the other Series X is or Series S. Like as far as like the amount that they take out, and
Uh
then you
huh.
just get like an extra 400. I don't think it's gonna be full 500. You're gonna get like 425. What is it? Not gig. Yeah, gigs. 425 gigs extra, and then like that little pocket usually went to the system, but
Uh huh.
I don't know. I
We'll
think
see.
you
But
you you might get a little more than that. You might get the full 500 because they already take out the amount for the system based off the first 500. But
if
yeah.
a lot of these games didn't come to PC as well,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have went and gotten a Series S, to be honest, like this new one,
Mm-hmm.
especially after the Starfield presentation. I would like, I'm gonna get them on PC instead. Makes no sense. But I would have that would have got me for like a.
Back when I was really just trying to save every dollar, like I would have opted for a Series S over Series X if it had the disc. But because it was all digital, that was like the that was like the kicker for me. So I was like, all right,
Well,
I
since
want the.
primarily play usually on like PlayStation and everything, getting it would have been specifically, honestly, for Starfield and maybe some of these other. Like if I was gonna get it for just day one on Game Pass and everything, then everything I'm gonna play is gonna be digital anyway. So I'd get the S.
Yeah, that I chose X because the other thing about it is those disc-based games that were more legacy games,
Yeah.
they had their updates for them where it was like their boost mode, their frame rate boost mode, and then they also had the, I guess, the 1X enhancements, which would bring
That makes
certain
sense.
games up to HD. Because I remember, I think it was Star Wars Force Unleashed. Like that was one of the one games where it looks like it was completely remastered, but it was not even touched by the developers. It was just, if you put a disc in that was old, it would completely transform the game. Assassin's Creed 2, the original Assassin's Creed 2, I remember that was another one where I got the disc off of eBay for like $1 or $2. And you could tell from what it looked like, it was like very beat up. It looked like it had been passed around to everybody. But when I put it into the Series X, like it updated it, like it downloaded the updated patches and everything, and made it look like a completely different game, despite it being an old beat up disc. And so that's those type of advantages I appreciate it. Red Dead Redemption 1 was another one. They have very good updates on that. But yeah, I think let me run through the extended showcase real quick because there was only a couple other things there. They showed DLC that was going to be for High on Life. It was going to be called High on Knife because apparently it's going to be horror content, which I thought was kind of funny. And then the first Descendant, which was a third-person shooter, I thought that looked pretty cool. And then they had a little bit of time that they spent showing Elder Scrolls Online and Hi-Fi Rush content. I think Hi-Fi Rush is going to get some more content. And then I also put this, they're really trying to sell Exoprimal, which is supposed to come out on July 14th. But that was shown a lot everywhere. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't see the appeal here. But
It is nice to see that it has a story. Like I saw that somewhere else where they kept talking about the story, picks the players, blah blah blah. Because before it just looked like it was like, here's a generated match, fight dinosaurs. But now it's like at least there's a story with it. So I might check it out eventually when it's like $5. But like
just like Remnant 2, it was shown on a lot of showcases. This might have been shown more than Remnant 2, but I was just like, yo, this is like, it's really not it for me, Exoprimal, but it was shown here. A really big deal here, I think this is one of the last big things that I put on there. They showed Lies of P, and they showed the story for Lies of P, and it was explaining how some of the weapons work. This game comes out on September 19, 2023, and it will also be day one on Game Pass. And I was just like, yo, Lies of P is a big one. That one's really catching on. That's not like the rest of the Souls games. That one's like Lords of the Fallen does not have as much hype as Lies of P. And they also mentioned that was going to be day one, so I thought that was pretty cool. Sarah Bond showed up again, looking as bad as ever. Shout out to Sarah Bond. They showed Phil Spencer playing a game with the devs. I forgot what game it was, but I thought it was pretty interesting that he was playing. It was I don't know, I don't think I have that, but they showed him playing with the devs and interviewing the devs for a particular game that I didn't write down, so I probably didn't like the game. But Okay, so here's where they did show. So the Crab Treasure Soul game was shown here, along with that cat game.
That's right.
The cat game was shown here too. The other one that was shown at the Nintendo Showcase. So I believe both of those might be day one on Game Pass as well. I think that's what they were showing. So yeah, Game Pass is hot right now. They have a lot. The extended showcase I still said was probably more of a 6 out of 10 because it was still a lot of what I saw already. Just more of, and then the beginning of it, I think the Keanu Reeves interview went just maybe a little too long. It was just it almost became the Keanu Reeves show for a split second. But yeah, we can jump back over. So afterwards, we show Starfield being the big showing for them. Put a lot of chips into this. Yeah. The cool thing about it is you get something to shoot at. For a split second, they also show some of the melee content. I don't know if people was catching it, but if your enemies get too close, you get to do some melee moves. That was the first time that I saw them showing it in this showcase. I had to freeze it a couple of times to see how many guns you can hold because the menu was coming up. It was coming really fast, but I think you can hold up to I think it's 12 guns at the same time, which seems excessive. Oh, wow. But it's like a weapon wheel that extends out a little bit. So you can have 4, but then you could switch out of the 4 on the fly, I think. In that little spot. Similar to how Borderlands, we have the up, down, left, right. But it like extends. It's 3 on each up, down, left, right. And
I wonder if you could only switch those out on your ship, right? Like it's like cargo.
No, it was during combat. They did it during combat. At one point.
Great.
It was pretty quick.
The game looked great. Even though I can't make it just the Snowman Skyrim, but like it looks really good. I did notice that they mentioned it was like, the whole 1,000 planet thing where they said you have your main ones which were like full of life and all this other stuff, and then they said there was a lot that would just be barren and just kind of have wildlife or resources on them.
Yeah.
So it seems like you'll have a bunch of planets you can go to, but not all of them will necessarily be like worth it to go to, but you can, which I guess makes sense. Because that was what I was interested in seeing. Is like when they had this many, it was like how many would be copy and paste.
Yeah.
And I think having resource planets where you just go there and mine, do what you have to do, is a good way for them to look slightly different, without getting in the way. But yeah, the combat looks great. The story seems interesting. I like the idea that you could just like pull crew members. I wonder if there's a limit to like how many crew members you can just have on your ship, and I wonder how much you have to take care of them. Like, do you have to make sure you get enough supplies so your ship members are fed? Are they going to get mad and leave, or like how do you have to keep people happy? Like how much of it will be management as well?
Yeah, I did see like there was like somebody who's game testing it now. Apparently they did the same thing they did with Tears of the Kingdom, where they had to make a penis out of the ship. So I was just like, we still haven't grown up. But they showed something. It was a penis shaped ship like flying around. I saw that. But I did enjoy the way the content was, where when you're in space, you can kind of shoot around like some of the Star Wars games. And then you land on a planet, you resource the planet. There's going to be wildlife everywhere. It does still have its story. I'm not too familiar with what the story is going to be. I was trying to not really see as much, but they didn't show too much. But they showed some people that you're going to interact with.
Some important people because you interact with them and then they pop up on your ship.
Yeah, that's supposed to be important. Yeah. It was interesting that like your outfit and stuff similar to Outriders. I was in my head, I was like, this might be more of my co-host's game than it is mine, even though I'm anticipating it probably more. Because I didn't really, when we were playing Outriders, I was just like, whatever, like I'll play it, I'll change this whatever I wanted to change. But like I remember you customized your truck and everything. And
customize the truck, you change the outfit per biome, like if it was too hot, had a short sleeve one, if it was too cold,
They put a lot of emphasis on customization to the point where you have certain skill trees that you will start off with that adds to your personality and
Which
stuff.
That's what I like too, especially for these type of games, because I typically go the charisma route and try and talk my way out of everything. So a lot of times my games will have a little bit less action than other people because I was just able to talk my out of the situation to get what I want. I didn't have to fight. Yeah. So that's usually the strategy I go with that I'm interested to see.
They also had that in there too. You either could talk your way out, or you can go guns blazing, or you can stealth. There was a lot of ways that you could play this game with all the missions and stuff. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I don't know if it will be a game that might kick something else out of Game of the Year yet. We have to just see. It is going to come out in time where it can be considered. And it's also still in that window. So for Xbox, they got Forza and this coming out back to back right in that window, but there's a lot coming out in September and October. Like there's, because as I was writing stuff down in other shows and stuff, a lot is coming out. Because still, the very next week, Lies of P comes out. And then,
which I still gotta play that demo. The demo's out.
Yeah, the demo's out, and then the following week after that, that's when the Cyberpunk's DLC stuff comes out, and then everything that's in October. Starfield is a big game for Xbox. I do have a slight bone to pick with it though, from something that I caught. I do think that they're going to go forward with this game being like a quiet replacement for Halo Infinite, because apparently Bethesda can come with their content more than 343. You know, they understand how to produce content over time, obviously with Elder Scrolls. But from what I was seeing, I think Starfield is going to be handled that way, which you might not have to worry about it if you have Game Pass. But what I noticed is that their collector's edition, the collector's edition is what I have an issue with. It's just like the other collector's editions where you get everything except for the physical game. The game is digital.
This is so stupid.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a thing. And so they're following that same model. But on top of that,
especially when they give you a steelbook, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Steelbook, like, come on, what?
I did like the watch though. I thought the watch looked cool, and apparently it's gonna have a big role within the game. But you got a watch with the box that is gonna come with, and then it has this like steelbook and stuff. But then the game itself is gonna be digital if you get it that way. The other thing that comes with that that collector's edition that I thought was interesting was expansion that's called the Shattered Space, and this is the first story expansion is what they called it. And so that pretty much let me know is like, okay, they're going to be having DLC content going forward. Maybe it might be as beefy as the Cyberpunk content, but I'm thinking Xbox is probably like, okay, the Halo team couldn't do it. We wanted Halo Infinite, even though it was going to last 10 years, we're calling it Infinite, and we wanted them to just keep coming out with content, and it's going to be our Game Pass game, right? And it's our flagship name, and I think the Halo team just can't do it. The Bethesda team can clearly do it, because they're doing it with Elder Scrolls. They're doing it. They also have the Fallout where they're doing it. So they're able to do that with Starfield. So I'm thinking they're going to do it. But I think what's just going to happen is just like, so if you don't have Game Pass, you're going to just, and you're really into this, you're probably going to end up paying for each and every DLC expansion. Or they might do it where not every expansion is in Game Pass, you know? I just don't like the idea that there are games where all of the content isn't just in the game from day one. It's one of those things where I have to just kind of accept the reality, because pretty much that's every game now. But I think this one's going to be utilized as the full Halo replacement over time. That's what I'm thinking. from what I've seen, because it's like, how do you have a storyline like expansion that's going to be there from day one if you get the collector's edition? But like, I don't know. It implied that you don't get it if you just have the regular version of the game. So that was just my concern. So I don't know how that would work with Game Pass if you're going to go into it with Game Pass, because that's how I wanted to do it. But
did
I
it
don't know.
specifically say day one, or does it?
It says it's called the First Story Expansion. It's just called Shattered Space. It's included with this collector's edition.
Right. That doesn't mean it comes out day one. I think it means like when they do release it.
Yeah.
You'll already have access to it the same way. So for example, like when wrestling games come out and they have like the planned DLC packs.
Yeah.
If you buy the deluxe edition, it's like you'll have access to the 6 DLC. That don't mean right away. It's just you bought the game in March. When the last DLC pack comes out in August, you'll automatically have access to it. So I think that's what they're doing here. Is if you buy this version, and when the first DLC pack comes out, it'll just automatically download to yours. You don't have to worry about buying it.
It implied to me that if I just had the regular game, or if I went in with Game Pass regularly, like I wouldn't have access to the story. And it also seemed kind of odd because the way the game was being like sold to us is like, you create your own story, you create your own path. So you wouldn't really feel like you're being left out or segregated out of a certain section until
it'll probably just be like, here's a planet that like now has things going on, or like a moon or something like that, like a new place to travel where some stuff is. That's what they did for the Outer Worlds, where it was just they had a few missions that took place like on a separate moon that you couldn't access previously.
Now, as far as the game and the game's content, I'm still very much excited for just the game for what it is. My gripe was just the management of that part, but as an actual game, I'm excited about it. It does still look pretty cool. I'm excited to customize the outfit a little bit. You can switch between first and third. I'm probably going to always be in third. I do know, like, when they were showing this, a lot of its like shooting content was all shown in first. They barely showed it in third. Like you blinked and you missed the third person like stuff. So as a show though, overall, the main show, I think this one trumps Jeff Keighley's show just by a little bit. I say it's an 8 out of 10.
I agree.
8 out of 10 for me. It wasn't perfect. There's still some stuff here and there. Much better showing than last year. But it was a lot of content that makes me very, very excited about Game Pass. A lot of content that's coming to Game Pass that I liked. Because I remember last year, it was like, okay, you got stuff that's going to Game Pass within the next year. And like even the stuff I was supposed to like High on Life, I wasn't really into it. Where now I'm very much into this. I'm very much into a lot of it, you know. Yeah, but real quick, let me jump to our Epic Games unofficial content or unofficial sponsor real quick, and then we'll blow past the rest of it because not everything's going to be that long. But Epic Games, they give you the free games every month. Or every week, actually, not every month. And just like we've said plenty of times before, you don't need to have your credit card. You just need to create your own profile. And once you have access to a PC or PC gaming handheld devices, you can open it up and you have a big library. The games that they have right now was Guacamelee 1 and 2. One of them was the Super Turbo Edition, which I think is the complete edition. And I think the second one is still complete, but it doesn't have like a fancy name. But you can access those right now and claim them up until June 22nd. And then from June 22nd to June 29th, you have Idol Champions of the Forgotten Realms. And then the game called The Hunter Call of the Wild. Those are the games you can claim from the 22nd to the 29th. And I do have a quick surprise. So I just want to mention I did purchased the ROG Alley. I do have it. I have it at home. It was a perfect storm. I got paid that same day. It was a thunderstorm out here where we live that same day, so I was kind of confined to the house, and it launched that same day. So it was a perfect storm. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna scoop it. I don't need to watch a bunch of videos. I scooped it. Fantastic handheld. I haven't had too much time to really play something beefy. I'm gonna be honest. I only played a couple like platformers. Ironically, under Epic Games, I wanted to actually put more focus on Epic Games on that thing. But for anybody else, if you come around to it and you have the money for it, the ROG Ally will be a perfect handheld for you to play, where you can log into your profile and have all this library, because that's exactly what I did. Downloaded the Epic Games app, logged in, all the games were there. I just installed like one or two so I can play it, right? So that's the Epic Games. And yeah, we can get back to the next showing. I think the next showcase was PC Game Showcase. Now, I don't want to bash this one too much, but I was annoyed with the skits. How did you feel about the skits? It was just too much skits.
It was way too much. It was a skit in between like every game. Like
it was to the point where it was more. I think I wrote that down. It was more skits than games, if I remember correctly.
So,
it was just.
I know the joke that they were trying to do, and it was the whole like, you know, the AI is taking over, but it's not good at it, so we'd have nothing to worry about. It's like, all right, I got it. Like, hurry up. Like that's how I felt. It's like, all right, move on.
Yeah. I was kind of annoyed because I just felt like they don't. In my head, to an extent, I felt like they just don't know their audience, in a way. Because the PC master race is like they want more gaming content than anybody else, almost like where it's just trailers. Like it almost could have just been pure trailers, nothing else. Like I don't know. Maybe that's how I wanted it. But like as a show, I think I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. It was still kind of cool, but it was just a very cringy start with the skits, and it just felt like there was more skits than it needed to be. But the first game that I did write down that I liked was called Frostpunk 2. This is the second one. That's going to come out in 2024. It looks good, but the trailer did kind of make it look more like a movie. But I wrote that down. I don't know if you wrote down something before that.
No, I had the first game I had was Ebenezer in the Invisible World.
Okay.
Not that it was like super interesting to me, but I feel like, you know, it's an interesting concept. It seemed like a side-scrolling like platformer.
Okay.
So it looked okay. This was the first one that looked okay.
I think I wrote this one down before, or at least I followed this before, but they showed a game called Eternights, which is more, it's like an anime slasher. I put a star by it. That's one of them that I really, really liked, but I think I've seen that one before. That will have a PC demo to look out for. How did you feel about this one?
Yep, that was the second one on my list. That one also looked good.
Yeah. After that, they showed more. Lords of the Fallen was shown again. It was just more gameplay. I believe this one has a release date of 9/23. I think we already talked about it plenty of times. This is one of those games where it's just duplicated. It was just like, it was another one where they're just showing more and more of it. I think Lies of P looks better as a Souls game than Lords of the Fallen right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Lords of the Fallen is fallen like very, very close to Elden Ring, where Lies of P has a little bit more, has originality to it, and it looks more like Bloodborne, right? Yeah. Let me say this real quick because I forgot to mention. So Eternights should be released or on the 19th, which is like 2 days from this recording. I think that might just be the demo though, or it could be the full game, but just check it out.
Okay.
After that,
well, no, the demo's already out, so Lies of P should be. But for the Lies of P, isn't it based more blood than it is like necessarily a Souls?
Yeah, it's more. It mimics Bloodborne more than it mimics any other game.
Because I
Yeah,
keep hearing it as I keep hearing it described as the Pinocchio Bloodborne, like it's specifically more stylized, supposed to be.
Yeah,
for Bloodborne.
It is.
Okay. The next game I had was Day.
Say that again. I think you cut out.
Oh, the next game that I had was Pack Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. PAX and then DEI. It was a sandbox MMO, like a big, open world, everybody stuff, but it was like a medieval game. So like, the people were just kind of talking, and they kept saying they were really trying to design it after like a medieval world where they were like looking up actual like historic stuff that was considered like magic medicine, where it was just a mix of like certain plants and herbs. So it's like to make that medicine, you'd have to go find the same plants and herbs and things like that. So they're really just trying to design like a magic world that was based relatively in reality from during the medieval times. So it looked okay. Weird name, PAX Day, but like it looked like something I'd check out.
The next one that I put a star by because I really liked it. It was Mariachi Legends. It looked like a lucha slasher that was more of a side scroller. Might be Mariachi. Yeah. I liked it. It kind of reminded me of like a Guacamelee, like just kind of not the gameplay, but just like the like atmosphere in a way. Yeah. It was lucha. It was good. I also wrote down bad laggy stream. So I don't know if it happened for you, but was there moments where the stream for this particular show was just really bad? Like it was messing up?
I was watching it alongside another one, so I wasn't paying that hard of attention to it. But there might have been. Also, I kept turning away from the cringy parts, but some of it do feel, I guess.
Yeah, because mine was a recording, so I was like, it probably was. It had to have been a stream if it was a recording. Or just the replay of it. But there were just moments.
Buffering issues.
Yeah, some moments it would just go black. And it was their stream. Like I could rewind it and back. So I'm like, okay, so that happened for everybody then. So yeah, that kind of took away points from me. I'm like, how did y'all mess this up? This should be a bigger deal. Yeah. The next game that I liked was called Altered Alma. It looks like a Metrovania style game that's more, side scrolling with like some slashing. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked really good. Might be something that I would feature later on. And then I wrote again, very bad stream, always going black and always blank screens. Like that's what I wrote like after that. So I was having issues around this point, from what I was watching. I don't know.
I might have been looking away. I didn't notice it that much, but maybe. The next game I had was called Hidden Door.
Okay.
I don't even remember what it was about. But,
you don't remember?
Nope, I remember writing it down. Let me look it up again. But yeah, I had Hidden Door, and then after that I had Undead Ink. That one I remember.
Okay.
But Hidden Door.
There was a game that they showed called 30XX. Now, 20XX was a game that was given away for free by Epic Games. If you look at it, it'll kind of remind you of Mega Man a little bit. 30XX is one of the newer ones. It might be out already. I've seen some streamers like show it off to their audience. But yeah, that was the next one that I wrote down that they did have. They did also show some DLC content that's going to be coming to an Xbox game called Vampire Survivor. Very addictive game that a lot of people have been playing. There's been a lot of clones for this too that's just been popping up out of nowhere, but The official one that has all the profile success is going to get DLC. And then Baldur's Gate, it was another one that I put down. Did you put out Baldur's Gate? That one's
yes. That one looks great.
Yeah. August 31st, 2023 is when that one comes out. I think other shows may have shown this one as well. Baldur's Gate has got a nice little following for itself.
Oh, I found it out. I remember now. Hidden Door. It looked like more of a phone game, but it's like an AI game.
Okay.
It's an RPG storytelling game where basically you pick kind of a universe and it gives you prompts like, this is what you're about to go through. What are you going to do? And you got to pick the route that you want to do, and it starts crafting the story around the choices you make. And it's just different worlds to be in, like a Star Wars tale or anything of the like. So they had like a bunch of them there. So it just seems like a very chill, just like click story adventure. Where like, you just keep making choices and read what happened. So it's very old school like. But that one. It was called Hidden Door.
Okay. The next one I had was Ember Knights. I think I put a star by it because I really liked it. Ember Knights, I don't have any other notes for it. It looked pretty cool though. And then the next one I don't think I had the original name for it, but I put that they made a Mr. Rogers shooter, and I put LOL. Because it looked like the Mr. Rogers, like they played it off the name a little bit, and it was basically just a shooter. I don't know what it was, but it was funny looking, but it didn't look like something I would play. Yeah, I think
Did you have the game Undead Ink?
I don't think I have that on here.
That one I wrote down, it was a guy, he was sitting at his like desk, he was like supposed to talk for some business meeting and got an emergency call. It was just like, sorry, I gotta go handle something. And I noticed real quick, the voice actor for there was the voice actor like Cool Guy / Guardian in Generator Rex, for anyone who remembers that show. But like the dude gets up, he goes down to like the subfloor, and there was this dude who was just like one of his workers. He goes, "You okay?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, the thing just bit me. But we got like medicine upstairs for it, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, go ahead." So the dude starts walking past him, and he just pulls out a gat and unalives him like right there. And then like it's supposed to be like it's some game where you're taking out zombies as well as managing a business. So it's like managing a business, a pharmaceutical company, where the basement floor has zombies. And you got to figure out a way to keep that hidden, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one that I did.
Last game that I had on here was a game that I've seen before, and I think I've even featured it before. Just Dawn Awakening. I think I've shown that 2 or 3 times before. It's definitely been shown before, but they threw it at the end here. Still a very good looking game, very cool game. Almost like a horror-ish in a way. Not too horror though, but not enough to be considered a horror game, but they have like horror elements to it, or scary like elements to it. That was the last thing I had for this show. Was there anything else that you have for this particular show?
The last one I had was called Parcel Core.
Okay.
You're basically a bike messenger, and you have to like bike parkour your way around the city to get things in a timely manner. So like they showed them like wall riding and jumping over people and moving out of obstacles ways to like drop off packages. It was a whole goofy cinematic trailer. Like it was like it showed gameplay, but it would cut to some guy dressed in the bike messenger costume talking in the office and just kind of doing goofy stuff. The game itself looked good.
Okay. I think I still wrote down too many skits, and this is a very long show. I think this is what I put.
Yes.
I had a lot of negative stuff to write down in between. Mainly it was just talking about the stream and the bad, like the lagginess and stuff and the black screens I was getting. But I think there were certain trailers where it started off and then it like blacked and then came back and it was still playing the trailer. Like towards the end of the trailer, you kind of just missed the whole thing. And it was just like they just kind of kept going. And so I gave this a 4 out of 10 for me. I thought that it was more just technical issues and then just skits that just kind of did it for me. Plus, I didn't like everything, but I liked enough. But the skits and the technical issues really brought it down for me.
Makes sense.
Yeah. How you feel about it? What do you say?
5 out of 10. It
5,
was
right
average.
in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. I liked it more than the Wholesome show. That much, and I had more games from it than the Future of Play.
Okay.
It did get a little annoying, but at the same time, I wasn't like heavily focused enough on the show that it took all my attention. So it was all right.
All right. Well, that's cool. That's cool. I guess the next one, we could talk about the next one as Ubisoft real quick. I think
I got one thing to say, main thing to say about Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft, and then we'll go to Capcom next. But with Ubisoft, it was more like I remember I put yuck at the very beginning because for some
the crowd sucked. That's what I wrote. I said, "What crowd sucks?" And I also said, "Is that Ember Moon?" Ember Moon was in the front row. I guess Athena.
I did write it down. I wrote that down. I was like, shout out to her because she was just in the crowd.
Yeah,
for whatever
but like
reason.
the crowd sucked. Like it was just they didn't clap. They were just sitting there, just like kind of listening. Where it's just like usually if they're gonna have the crowd at least hype things up for no reason, but they'll just be like, "Here comes this person," and the person will come out waving and everything. And like they're just sitting there, and then you can tell they clearly said some sort of like joke, sort of thing, and just pure silence from the crowd, and they're just like awkwardly like okay, and then like moving on, and it was super obvious. Where it was that Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. It was like he was advertising an anime, and he went full costume and was trying to like talk about it and like was using like I'm cool, but like laugh at me, like. Sort of phrases, and just no response from the crowd. It was like this. It made it cringy. Like it was just. You could tell he would pause and wait for a reaction, and you would think that like maybe a reaction was going and they muted it. That's how he was waiting, but it was just bad. I was like, that crowd was the worst.
Yeah. I remember putting like, why is Just Dance the start? Because I think they started with Just Dance. And I'm just like...
Didn't they have like an actual dance performance?
Yeah, they had like a performance and stuff, and it was supposed to go along with that. It was just like, why? Like, in my head, I'm like, this doesn't fit Ubisoft. The funny thing about it, too, I was putting down that they really are banking on this, but the Avatar Frontiers game... I remember putting like LOL is just a shooter. It kind of reminded me of like Suicide Squad in a way, where it was just like at the end of the day it was a shooter, because like the game before they were just kind of just showing off like more just the CGI of it, like how beautiful it was, but you never really saw gameplay. The second they went back to gameplay, it was like literally just a shooter, and you had like you were shooting arrows too. And I was like, really? That was it? It was just a shooter.
Yep. I could have told you that.
Shooter with cutscenes.
I didn't really like the movie, to be honest. I didn't even want to see it. It was in one of my college classes. We had to watch it at a film class, and they made us watch it. And I was like, "This is boring." Like, I understood the message. I understood what it was based off of, like right away.
Yeah,
it was boring.
It was a very long movie.
Game either. Yeah.
But apparently it was like a really big movie. Like it made a lot of money and stuff.
It did.
And they're trying to stretch out that franchise.
I just don't get it. But yeah, for me, Prince of Persia, of course, looked good.
Yeah.
And that Captain Laserhawk anime is something I'm going to check out.
I do want to mention real quick for Avatar. I think even though it was a little cringy and stuff, that formula for that game is like a carbon copy of a formula that is needed for PlayStation shooters. Like for them to not be able to make it, you would think that this is the kind of game that they would make, because it's like it was more story driven, and then at the end of the day it was just a first person shooter, where PlayStation usually does story driven games and it's just a third person game. Shooter or slasher
or action adventure platform.
So like this would probably be their best transition. It would have made more sense if this was like a PlayStation exclusive. It would not compare to Call of Duty, but at the very least they would have had just a shooter in general. But Yeah, like you said, more Prince of Persia was shown. I think this was probably the one thing that I did like. At one point, I did write down the screen goes black. I think it went black for me and under this
Hey, this
showing
one
as
did
well.
not for me, so I don't
I
know what's
don't know.
happening for you.
I don't
It was
know.
not.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was me. I don't know. Maybe it was one of my screens, but I don't know. Well, I'm sold on Prince of Persia, but yeah.
Yeah, same. I am definitely sold on that game. After the Captain Laserhawk like thing, it was just an anime. But the next thing I had was that the Assassin's Creed Mirage like fight scene looked dope.
Yeah, they're
like,
really banking on that. That's a big one that they're banking on. And also the Assassin's Creed Mirage game is coming out October 12th. It's another one that they're throwing right there in the middle of October. So it's going to be very, very packed that particular time frame, because even the Prince of Persia game is September 14th. You see what I'm saying? Like October and that September, like I had to like pull up the list, I guess, if somebody make a list, but those 2 months
next year.
Yeah, they said it was September 14, 2023, and then the Assassin's Creed is October 12, 2023. So like I said, like if we pull up the list, like
Prince of Persia is January 2024.
Then which one is? Oh no, my bad. That's the Crew. My bad. Okay, so they made a Forza. They made a Forza game. I wrote it on the wrong side. They got a Forza looking game called The Crew Motorfest. That's coming out. That one is the September 14, 2023. So I wrote it wrong. Okay, my mistake. But still, there's a lot coming out in those 2 months. I'm not too interested in that game, the Crew Motorfest. I just liked how it looked a little bit, but it did remind me of Forza, and I kind of feel like I would just play Forza. I did think it was interesting that at some point they were really just talking about like the Prince of Persia and Assassin's Creed stuff, but they put on the screen "Long Live Piracy." It went along with that musical. You remember that musical? It was like right in the middle, but on the screen it said "Long Live Piracy," and I thought that was funny because I'm like, okay, they're trying to make it seem like okay, it's like being a pirate, but "Long Live Piracy" is like the nightmare of Nintendo, basically. So I thought that was interesting that they just wrote that there. They had an Assassin's Creed game that was supposed to be VR, which I thought was okay. It was okay. And then Assassin's Creed Mirage was their big show, and they spent a lot of time on that, a whole lot of time on that. And I don't know if it was here or the Xbox extended show, because I kind of wrote this too close to each other, but Star Wars Outlaws was shown.
It was here.
It was here. Yeah, a lot more gameplay. It still looks good. It was really, really, really showing it. I wrote down that this could be a Starfield competitor for people who just wanted that type of game just on another system, because they were showing a lot of stuff. There's still some similarities. It's not big on the customization, but if you just wanted a space game, this for sure is multi-plat. So you could probably just play this if you really didn't want to play on that.
I do think they do target. If anybody was just I want to be in space, then there's a mirage of games they can play. This one is more like who's itching for that next big RPG, and this one happens to be in space.
Yeah.
Where for Star Wars, it was who's itching for the next Star Wars game. So that one also looked great to me. That was the last one I had from the Ubisoft, and it was just I hated that crowd.
I put that it was a 5 out of 10. It was kind of right in the middle.
That crowd ruined it for me. It was like
they ruined it. 4.
Yeah. Like, I like the games that are shown, even though a lot of them were shown at other showcases. So it was like, I like Star Wars, Prince of Persia, and Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like, the 3 games that I were to make big thing from it were all at different showcases. The only thing that was unique to this one was the Captain Laser thing. So, 3 out of 10 for me.
This might go even quicker. So here is Capcom. The Capcom Showcase. It's funny because I think the last week I remember saying I could predict how these shows are going to go. They're going to pretty much just kind of bank on what they've already shown to the public in the past and just show you more of it. This one was like more of the same overload. It was like almost everything from this Capcom show was shown before. And it was like the first thing we saw, Path of the Goddess. I said it was good, but it was already shown. And then right after that, we had Mega Man, and I put Roll Eyes because it's like more Mega Man at this point of the same Mega Man.
Couldn't play as before.
Bro, I'm like, yo, more Mega Man. And this, come on, Street Fighter 6 at this point does not need to be shown at a showcase.
Yeah, man. That was all Capcom has.
It was like more of this. And then there was Resident Evil 4 Remake being in VR. Yep. It was like, who didn't think it was going to be there? Yeah, for the VR too.
Say that. I will say that was new. Ace Attorney 4 through 6. So, they had released the Phoenix Wright trilogy, which was Ace Attorneys 1 through 3. So now they're releasing 4 through 6 as a collected pack. I
did write that down. Right before that, I thought this was interesting because they finally showed Pragmata again, but then they put sorry for not being out in 2022, and then just sort of not give a window date for the next, like, for when it's going to come out. It just, like, it appeared, it was like, here it is, sorry, it's not out, and then just didn't give a window at all, and they just kind of went away. Ghost Trick I thought was just hilarious because I was just like, I put down face down, AZZ up, basically. Because it was like, that's how they showed it. I'm like, what is they doing? Why is he positioned that way?
Was that the part with, I think that was the part with the Japanese guy who said he like learned like his speech for 3 weeks.
But it was like,
hopefully next time we can speak Japanese. And I was like, no problem, except I'm never going to meet you. Probably.
It was just, but it was so goofy because that was like right next to him, and it's like that was like taking the attention away. Like, why is that looking like that? And then here is Exo Primal again. I put LOL because they really were showing Exo Primal here.
Well, that was when they mentioned the whole story mode thing. So
I'm like, yo, get this off my screen. Like I'm just not sold on it at all. Did you not
see the part where they were in like it was like a purple, hazy like fog room? And there was a giant purple T-Rex that was like doing fire breath or something. I don't know. I know what was happening.
It was
but there was
chaos.
a game before Exo Primal. Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, I have that. I put that. I said the gameplay looked cool for that. That might have been the only thing that was like what you haven't really seen a lot before. It wasn't new. I've seen it a little bit before, but not a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually put that this was a 3 out of 10 for me. I kind of was just like, 10. Yeah, it was. I didn't understand why it was here. Really, it was just here.
Yeah. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, the next one could probably go even quicker. I could mention this because I guess you didn't see this. The Guerrilla Collective second show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw this. They bought the same cringy host out, at least just the dude. And he was sitting down and he was just like, yeah, let's talk about what was shown before. And it was basically a recap. It was like a recap, but they had a couple extra things here. Shout out to Super Adventure Hand. They showed more levels on this, more gameplay. That was the game that looks like Hand from the Addams Family almost. I've shown it before. So that was shown. They showed Europa again. That was something I think they showed on their first show. It was the same trailer, but I said it still looks good, but it was the exact same trailer. And then they showed Sacrifice, or Sacrifice. They put a hyphen in the middle of it. A retro style slasher that was more of a Metrovania style game. This is like one of their better showings here. This show was like 30 or 40 minutes. They really recapped and went quick. And then they showed the Remnant 2, the story trailer. I think that might have been the story trailer that we've seen already. They showed that again. And then I remember putting show was pointless 2 out of 10. It really was. It was just the same stuff. Like,
okay.
Nothing was really new. Sacrifice was the newest thing, but everything else was pretty much shown. And then we probably can go quick on these two as well. No offense to whoever, but the first one I'll say Dames for Games. Yeah. So
did you want me to make my point?
Go ahead, make your point. Go ahead, do it. Get us canceled.
Oh, yeah, my bad. We get this canceled, but we can loop in Black Voices in Gaming for this too.
Okay.
I don't see why these need to be separate shows anymore. Like I understand years before where there was a gatekeeping for women out of the games, and or like there just wasn't a lot of black protagonists, or even in comparison, I was playing like a Wheel of Fortune, right? Like, 'cause it was a free game. I saw it, and like you got 2 male protagonists, 2 women protagonists, and they're all basically white. And even if you make yourself dark, like somewhat dark, there's 4 male hairstyles, which is comb over to the right, comb over to the left, comb over in the middle, or not combed over. So it was 4 like white hairstyles, and that was it. Those are your options. Not even bald, right? So and then now but I feel like now it's like there is representation, right? There's like way less gatekeeping. That's in this weird corner of the gaming internet that we can just ignore. And there's a lot more representation. I'm not understanding why these still need to be like a separate show on their own. And then especially in a week where everything's packed, I was like, I'm not watching that. Like, I'm not watching it. I turned it on and I just like fast forwarded to see if there were going to be like any set of trailers, and it looked like it was just all talking. So I was like, all right, I'm not watching this.
So I can go through what I have quickly for it. So the first thing I do want to do is shout out one of the hosts. Her name was Red Infamy. That is somebody I do follow. She's still more of a smaller channel in the grand scheme of things, but I guess she's getting some big light here. YouTuber and streamer. So shout out to her. She was probably one of the only things that almost like the wholesome thing where I was just like one of the only things here, but more detail that I have here, I put too much time that was spent on the sponsors at the start of the show. I thought that was just going way too long. They did have a game called Wrestle Story.
That's the one I've been waiting for till August. That's like Wrestle Quest is the one I'm waiting for. This is Wrestle Story. Yeah,
they have a game there called Wrestle Story. I thought it looked okay. It was fine. Right after that, I said it's just too much talking, and then I put this is basically a podcast because they kind of just was going on and on with whoever was there. They had I guess it was more about the women developers, and they were just talking about the games and stuff, but wasn't really showing it. Because I remember I have another thing here that says 30 minutes, no games. Like, that's what I wrote. Because they kind of just kept going. It was more of a talking. It was basically what we're doing here. But they weren't really showing nothing. Where I think when we get to the Black Voices in Gaming, they were doing exactly what we were doing here. Where they had 2 people on the left side. 2-3 people on the left side. But they did at least show gameplay of something in the middle. Like we have right now. It Takes Two. At one point I put why are two little kids on my screen, because somebody just felt the need to put their kids up there to try to be cute, because at this point we deviated from games completely. It was all of that, and then I put at the end started fast forwarding to get to trailers, and that was the last thing I put for this. So yeah, it was way more of a talking show. It was not necessarily a gaming show. I gave it a 1 out of 10, to be honest. I didn't get too much from it, unfortunately, but I had it on one of my screens almost from start to finish until it was to the point where it was just like, okay, where's the content,
Yeah.
The next thing I can probably put down, Black Voices in Gaming. It also went the same way, but they did show one game that I featured before that I do really, really like, called Hyper Light Breaker. Same trailer, still good. Same trailer we've seen in the past. I did write down here, it was just too much talking also. And I put like podcast with gameplay, and it was pretty much what we have here. Podcast with gameplay. But it was on a bigger scale, on a show that was supposed to be, I don't know, was it, because the way it's listed is Black Voices in Gaming. So maybe, you know, if you didn't read it right, maybe they wanted to talk about the black people who are creating the games, but not too much the games itself, because the gameplay was just not really there as much.
Yeah, that's what it is. I feel like it's that, like, these are black people making the games, black people being a part of the games. They spent representation in games.
Yeah, they spent more time on that than the games itself, but they did show a game called Roller Girl. They had this one developer that they had where they had the screen similar to ours, where they showed her game in the middle and she was on the left with the host for this particular show. They spent a little bit of time on this one. This one probably was the better looking game for the show itself. I'm not as interested in it as of yet, but it at least looked, it was probably one of the best things shown on the show though. Okay. And then I wrote down that I started fast forwarding because at some point it really was just talking. It was just talking. It was talking. And then it was a game called Corrupt at the very, very end, which looked like a broken 2D fighter where the dude was just really, really sweet. And this was by a black dude creator. I thought it was pretty cool. That one was a good ending. But majority of this was just pretty much focused on we're represented. And it was just like that. But there was at one point where they showed like a mature lady there who says she had been making games for like 20 years. She was like way more knowledgeable and was just like, her interview portion was a lot better. I did listen to that. But as a show, as far as for gaming, I gave this a 2 out of 10. It wasn't enough really being shown here. 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. And so you fast forward through both of these. Are you going to give any of them a rating or just
nope?
No rating.
It wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't be fair to give them one.
I would say RGG Summit Summer 2023. Majority of that was just interviews revolving around some of the JRPG games. And because it was like a translator the entire time, I was just like really not into it. They spent some time on Yakuza. That's the one show I can't really give a rating on because at some point it was almost unwatchable in a way.
So I saw that they were just like interviewing the voice actors, and that's why I turned it off.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that's what it was about. Which that I don't mind if you're gonna fill up the rest of the week with like just little interview shows here and there that people can see if they want to. Cool. That's fine. It's when they like release 8 shows that all have games that they want you to like check out that I'm like, it's too much.
Yeah.
But if you're just gonna like interview stuff, that's fine because watch those if you want to.
The last one I guess I can mention real quick because I watched it but was kind of not as interested. It's called Upload VR Showcase. It can go by kind of quick because this is the one area of games that I don't have a system for technically, at least for right now. But they had some cool VR looking games here. One of them, the first one that I put down was called Stride Fates. I said it looked like Dying Light in VR because that's kind of how it looked to me. But yeah, that one probably would be the first game to really make you sick if you're like one of those people who get sick by this because it was very much focused on parkour, but in VR. Like kind of like how Dying Light is a little bit, but just in VR, first person. So yeah, it could make you sick. It looked good though. At one point they had like a VR interview, which I thought looked kind of funny because it was almost like the MetaQuest stuff or the metaverse stuff. It was like that what Zuckerberg was doing. And then they showed Power Wash Simulator, which took the Xbox brand by storm at one point. Where they had a VR version of this that they showed. And they were doing giveaways throughout the show that I thought was kind of cool. But as a show, I just gave it a 5 out of 10. It was right in the middle. I liked some of the stuff, but as of right now, VR is just a little too expensive for my blood for something I'm not used to. at least with like the ROG Alley, I'm kind of used to what's going on there. I'm not really used to, like, I feel like I would spend a lot and might not like it. So yeah. I'm on the fence with it. Yeah, but I think we covered it, man. We back to having a 2-hour podcast. That was all the shows.
Ooh, a lot of shows.
But like we said before, that could have easily been spaced out, especially for what was being shown for some of them, where if for a couple of them, even though they're separate brands, I almost feel like the Ubisoft and Capcom one would have probably been more beneficial if they were like meshed into the exact same thing. And it was like, they could have said like Capcom versus Ubisoft and could have been tongue in cheek with it. And just like every other game was every other like studio. But I don't know.
I don't understand why, if they were going to have their own shows, why did they need to also have their games in the other shows? And like, it was like,
yeah,
if you're not going to show anything new, right? Or they could have here's the 1 minute like cinematic trailer, and then during their own show, immediately show it off. But it felt like some of them was the same.
Yeah, there was like 4 or 5 games, Remnant 2, Lords of the Fallen, Exoprimal, like Super Exoprimal, where they were shown in more than one show. Like here, it was almost like if it was E3 in person, and if you're in person and you're rushing to get a seat in the other room, the other side of the building or down the street, however it is, if it was a campus, however they do it, and you get there in time, you finally get your seat, and then they show the same thing. It's just like, I don't know how it would feel over there, because you're in person, you spent real money, and I've heard stories like you can't always get in and all that stuff.
There's lines.
But here it's like, you're completely online. Like I said in the very beginning, like without being in person. Now, some of these shows you could see there were people in person, but I don't know the details, but I'm willing to bet that they did not have all these shows that were in person in the same area. I'm willing to bet that some of these were probably in other states or something. If they were in the same area, it's like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all did not have to do this in the same area. But it could have been spaced out, because if Ember Moon was in the crowd of one of the shows, it was clearly probably cut off to like only having certain people there, Like, I don't think like the open public could have probably been there, because they didn't have stadiums. Like, it was just like small rooms almost, almost like a classroom in a way.
To be honest, it was probably one hotel. Like, that's how most of them do it.
Yeah.
Hotels have a lot of conference rooms, and it's just separate rooms set up to record for different things.
Yeah.
Like how most conventions go.
Because it just seems strange that how, for some of them, you can clearly tell they were doing stuff in person. So it's like, if you really did you really get rid of E3? Like, it's just the name that was gone, which is what I thought. I thought it was going to be like that again anyway. I was like, I'm not sitting here worried about E3 being gone, because I was going to watch on YouTube anyway. For anybody who watched on YouTube, you did not miss E3. This was E3. You missed Nintendo.
Yep.
Unless you want to count Tears of the Kingdom being out, that's the trade-off, right? Which is probably you could argue that's probably a fair trade-off, because that was like their biggest title. But it was like everything else, you didn't miss anything. Like, you literally didn't miss anything, to the point where they showed you some of the stuff twice. A lot of games you've seen before, heard of before, right? So it was like, I just felt like, at the very least, if we go back through the names of some of the showcases here, and then the ones from last week, you could literally just space this out. This could have been like, if they did one per week, we would have a solid big summer, right? And everything would have a lot more time to digest. Like, I'm pretty sure for a lot of people who really did power through everything, there's no way you digested everything like that. There's no way. And there's definitely no way that you bought everything that you decided to write down or put on a wish list. Right? Like, there's only so much. There's like a top 15 or top 10, top 20 video, for this entire thing, I guess I could do. But I don't know. I enjoy gaming in general. I just feel like Jeff Keighley's show and the Xbox show were probably the biggest ones, right?
Oh, for sure.
I do not think those should have been 2-3 days from each other. It would have been way beneficial if like Jeff Keighley's was probably at the beginning of the month, and then maybe the Xbox show could have been like the beginning of like the beginning of July is what I would have probably wanted. And then some of the other stuff was like spaced in between, like one show per week, and they were shown like on either like like when everybody can see it, like a Friday or a Saturday afternoon or something. Because also some of these shows were done like when they were live or like Tuesday afternoon or something. Like it was like really early. I'm like, okay, some of us at work, like your main audience that you're trying to reach is gonna be at work. Like like yep. Nobody's at E3. It was kind of a silly thing. Cause I know it was overwhelming for me to just like forward you like 50 shows back to back, like how I did at one point. It had to be to just look at it.
And it just stopped, and I was like,
It cut into my gaming. I had less gaming done in the past 2 weeks even though I bought a whole system or a whole handheld. I had to not play that as much because of this, to be honest, even though it was brand new. I didn't want to like chicken out because I knew I was probably going to miss like making a solo vid for one or two of these shows just because of like real life cuts in as well, you know, and that's going to always come first. But until we get a real, you know, epic sponsor, you know, $1 million sponsor. But until that happens, real life comes first. And so I had to like choose between stuff, you know, like imagine this happened in the middle of like that WrestleMania week where everybody has to do a show before WrestleMania and like there's like the Raw afterward. What if that happened same time? What do we do? What do you do?
Pick and choose what to watch. So I got to be way more selective.
Like, how do you do it? Yeah, definitely. I don't even know if they'll ever hear this, but just once a week would have been so much better. Because I still would have watched. I still watched the Playdate thing when the Playdate did their thing and their own thing, which was completely separate from everything else. You know, everybody still showed up for the PlayStation show, which was conveniently 2 weeks before this. See, that kind of spaces out correctly. Okay, that was 2 weeks before and then this, and that spaces out a little bit better. Because technically there's still more shows. It's just not really showcases. Like, there's supposed to be another Final Fantasy 16 showcase, which I don't think is necessary. And then there's another thing where it's supposed to be Black Voices in Gaming again, but it's the IGN edition. And I'm like, that's not necessary either. And then it was like one other thing that it didn't look like it was a real show. And then there was the show that was announced during the Jeff Keighley show, if you remember, that's supposed to be on June 29th, that we'll probably talk about then, which is supposed to feature either Stray 2 or Stray DLC, and then a couple other games that I saw. And so that's going to happen. But at least with that one, it's spaced slightly out. I would, at this point, prefer for that one to be like after July 4th weekend. Like at this point, because it's like, I just need to digest. At least for the Xbox side, a bulk of this is in Game Pass. For a lot of people, you can just get Game Pass and then you're good. If you stuck around to the end, please leave a like on this. I'm going to make mention of this a little bit more often during the weeks, but there was one big thing that might be a question for people. The ROG Ally did come with 3 months Game Pass. And I'll mention this probably in more weeks going forward. You do not have to start it right away. That was a big thing that I wanted to know. It does have a window for when you have to start it, but they give you a nice amount of time. I don't know the exact date, but you have from when you get your system until May 2025. So they gave you some window time there, which I think is a fantastic thing for people. I'm obviously not going to wait that long. I actually wanted to start it when Starfield comes out, because it's actually during my birthday week, around that time. But I don't know. I might wait until to see.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but I'll mention it more in upcoming weeks when I talk about Epic Games, because I really look at this as my Epic game machine and some Steam game machine. Yes, I understand you can do some Nintendo content on it, but I don't have any interest in doing that. I do have a Switch. I do actually I bought Tears of the Kingdom. You know, they're out there having a heart attack with Tears of the Kingdom right now. But for anybody wondering, yes, the 3 months that they give you, I don't think it adjusts. Like, let's say if you go buy it in July, I think that May 2025 is the like absolute cutoff. I think that's what it is.
Well, yeah, they did that to pre-package for like a bunch of them. So whenever you buy it, like they don't have to keep sending new ones for like a 3-month thing. It's just, but hopefully you buy it before May 2025, and you have until May 2025 to.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as when you buy games and they'll have like a DLC code in it, and it's like you pretty much have a year to input that DLC code, so they don't have to keep reprinting.
Yeah. I do notice like during Black Friday times, that's like the perfect time to stack up like Game Pass, because those 3-month codes are like cut in half. Like, I think it's 3 months for like $20 usually during Black Friday time if you get them from in the stores, where normally like it's $15 a month or whatever. So like that's the perfect time to just buy a bunch of them or whatever, and you can use them from time to time. But yeah, I just want to mention that, and I'll mention it more going forward, during the middle, that it gives you a due date basically. It's funny because my PS Plus expires in December 2025, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so pay attention to your dates. That's all I got, man. It's a lot of stuff. We got one of our older type of shows right here, man. 2 hours and 16 minutes and counting. But we did it. We did it uninterrupted.
Got through everything. Yeah. So many shows. Well, cool. Let us know in the comments. I guess top games for anybody who's watching. Let us know in the comments what top 3 games you were looking forward to from the summer Game Fest shows.
Yeah. I plan to give you a little bit more content regarding ROG Alley on the next show. I don't think I want to do a solo on that, because I feel like you would have seen the experts' content on that by now, and I wouldn't be able to give you expert opinion because I don't feel like I need to stress it. I just want to play my Epic games on it and some other stuff. I don't need to stress it. But I will tell you some other cool stuff that it does. Like, it's almost like a whole tablet in itself. If you wanted to turn it sideways, you could literally turn it sideways and like read comics, which has never been advertised that way. It might look goofy because it's still technically like a controller or whatever on the ends, but
it's cool though.
Yeah, you can do that. They have like all those RGB lights and stuff that you can change and stuff, and it kind of, like right now I have it set to default, which is like where it kind of just goes through the colors really slowly. Like if you're into the game and you just like, I guess, glance over to the side for a second, it'll be a different color. So it's kind of cool. It's cool. But yeah, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for anybody who's been paying attention to the content in my channel. I appreciate you. Please enjoy this summer. I'm having a fantastic summer. I hope you are too. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace.